History remembers the conquerors, the warriors who forged empires in the fires of battle. But empires are not built by conquest alone. They are sustained by something far more powerful: order, law, and vision. More than 2,500 years ago, one man rose from the ashes of chaos to build the most organized and powerful empire the ancient world had ever seen. His name was Darius the Great. He wasn't just a king. He was the architect of an empire. In the year 522 BC, the vast Achaemenid Empire, the first Persian empire, teetered on the brink of collapse. The king, Cambyses II, was dead, and with his passing, the threads holding the empire together began to unravel. Rebellions erupted across the lands. False kings, pretenders to the throne, rose up in defiance. Provinces broke away, declaring their independence. Authority had vanished, replaced by chaos and civil war. Into this whirlwind of uncertainty stepped Darius. He was not the rightful heir by bloodline. He was a nobleman, a brilliant soldier in the elite immortal guard, and a master strategist. But what he lacked in direct lineage, he made up for in ambition and political skill. Through a combination of decisive military action and clever maneuvering, Darius seized the throne. But claiming the crown was only the first, and perhaps easiest, step. Holding on to that power and rebuilding a fractured empire would demand a level of genius the world had rarely seen. Darius's first year as king was a trial by fire. He faced a tidal wave of uprisings. Babylon, Media, Egypt, even distant parts of Asia Minor all rose against his rule. A lesser king might have tried to drown these rebellions in blood, ruling through sheer terror alone. But Darius was different. He chose precision over brute force. He moved swiftly, crushing each rebellion with clinical efficiency. But he didn't just win battles. He documented them. On a massive cliff face in modern-day Iran, he commissioned the Behistun inscription. Carved into the mountainside in 3 different languages, it was a detailed record of his triumph, naming every rebel king he had defeated. This was more than just propaganda. It was a monumental declaration of his legitimacy and power. It sent a clear message to the world. The Persian Empire would have one king, and all its people would live under one law. Unlike the conquerors who came before him, Darius understood a fundamental truth: a sprawling empire cannot survive on military might alone. It needs structure, it needs a system. So, he embarked on the most ambitious administrative reform in history. He divided his immense empire into provinces, which he called satrapies. But he didn't just appoint a governor and give him absolute power. Instead, each satrapy was managed by a team of 3. A governor for civil administration, a military commander for defense, and a separate tax official. These 3 men reported directly back to the king, ensuring that no single individual could become too powerful or corrupt. This brilliant system of checks and balances brought unprecedented stability. Darius also introduced standardized taxation across the empire, a unified legal code, and a single imperial currency, the golden daric. For the very first time, the Persian Empire began to function not as a collection of conquered lands, but as a single, cohesive state. But Darius didn't just rule the land. He connected it. He understood that communication and commerce were the lifeblood of an empire. His greatest project was the construction of the Royal Road, an ancient highway that stretched over 2,500 kilometers from the heart of Persia all the way to the Aegean Sea. Royal messengers, using a network of relay stations, could now traverse the entire length of the empire in just 7 days, a journey that previously took months. This incredible network didn't just carry messages. It carried goods, ideas, and culture. Trade flourished like never before. The empire became a melting pot where different peoples and traditions could mix and mingle. Under Darius, Persia became the true heart of the ancient world, not through destruction, but through connection. At the core of Darius's rule was a philosophy of justice and order, guided by his Zoroastrian faith. This religion emphasized truth and righteousness, and Darius sought to embody these principles in his governance. Yet, remarkably for the time, he did not force his beliefs on his subjects. He practiced a policy of religious and cultural tolerance. He respected local gods and customs. He funded the restoration of temples, including the Second Temple in Jerusalem. He protected local priesthoods and even adapted imperial laws to fit with local traditions. This wise policy earned him something far more valuable than obedience born of fear. It earned him loyalty. And loyalty was a bond far stronger than any chains. While he is remembered as a brilliant administrator, we should not forget that Darius was also a formidable military leader. He expanded the borders of the Achaemenid Empire to its greatest extent. His armies marched into the Indus Valley in the east and crossed into Europe, conquering Thrace and Macedonia. However, his greatest military challenge came from the west, from the city-states of Greece. The Ionian Revolt, a rebellion of Greek cities in Asia Minor against Persian rule, tested the limits of his power. And while Darius ultimately crushed the revolt, it planted the seeds of a much larger conflict, the famous Greco-Persian Wars that would define the next generation. Still, at the height of his power, from the Indus River to the Danube, Darius ruled the largest empire the world had yet known. Darius the Great ruled for 36 years. When he died in 486 BC, he left behind far more than just a vast territory. He left a legacy of governance, a blueprint for how to run a successful multicultural empire. He bequeathed a stable government, a unified economy, and a model of imperial administration that would be studied and copied for centuries. Future empires, the Romans, the great Islamic caliphates, and even modern states have all borrowed elements from the systems he created. Darius didn't just conquer an empire, he taught the world how to run one. Empires rise and empires fall. Armies turn to dust and cities crumble, but ideas endure. The ideas pioneered by Darius the Great of order, justice, connection, and vision were his true lasting legacy. And those ideas still echo through the pages of history, even today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories from history.